Imagine the most perfect ball in football history. The one made with the best technology and designed only for the greatest footballers. This football is called the Jabulani, which means be happy in Zulu. Although this ball made footballers really angry instead of happy. The ball was so chaotic that no goalkeeper could catch it. Casillas said this about the ball: "It is very sad that a competition so important as the World Cup will be played with such a horrible ball." Buffon called the ball inadequate, while Luis Fabiano, the Brazilian striker, called the ball supernatural. And despite the open criticism, there was one player who controlled the ball like no other. It was a toy which only he knew how to play with. I will tell you how he handled the football better than anyone. But before that, let's see why this ball was so controversial. And so we need to get back to the year 2010. In the 2010 World Cup, a new football was designed. But it wasn't just a football. The Adidas engineers wanted something perfect, a ball that was perfectly round. Before the Jabulani, most traditional footballs were made from 32 panels, but this one was made only from 8 panels, with the surface of the ball being textured with grooves, a technology developed by Adidas which they called grip and groove. The design intended to improve aerodynamics, which I'm not sure it did, but still they put so much effort into creating this ball that Adidas even developed a partnership with researchers from Loughborough University. But that's not all about its design. 11 different colors were used on the ball, representing 11 starting players in football, 11 official languages of South Africa, and the 11 South African communities. There was even a gold version of the Jabulani, called Jabulani, and it was used only once, for the 2010 World Cup final. Its name is a blend word between Jabulani and Joburg, a nickname for Johannesburg, where the final match was played, and it was gold because that was the main color of the World Cup in 2010. But enough with the nerdy facts. Let's see how and why the goalkeepers and outfield players truly hated this ball. Messi stated that the ball is very complicated for forwards and goalkeepers. Maradona also said, "We won't see any long passes in this World Cup because the ball doesn't fly straight." Brazil's goalkeeper Julio Cesar compared the Jabulani to a supermarket ball. Still, some players liked the football, with Lampard calling it a very strong ball, true to hit. And even Michael Ballack said that it was fantastic. The ball did exactly what he wanted. But like I said in the beginning, there was a player who controlled this ball like his personal toy. And that player is none other than Diego Forlan. He tied for the golden ball in that World Cup, and certainly the Jabulani helped him to get there. Forlan said that months before the tournament, he studied the ball, explaining that he had a lot of practice and training, saying, "I got lucky and the Jabulani behaved very well back then, and we got along great." And so it began. A love story more romantic than Rose and Jack from the Titanic, Diego Forlan and the Jabulani. During Uruguay's second game in the 2010 World Cup against South Africa, Forlan opened the scoring with a screamer that only he knew how to pull off. But that wasn't all. He again scored in the same game, but from a penalty this time, shooting high into the net. He also had a hand in Uruguay's third goal against South Africa. Oh, by the way, because we are talking about the 2010 World Cup, I just have to add this clip.
Taylor, what's he say? It's a really good ball. It's Shabalala! Goal! Bafana! Bafana! Goal for South Africa!
Now where were we? Oh yes, in the quarterfinals, Uruguay faced Ghana, one of their toughest matches. After Uruguay went 1-0 down, Diego Forlan came again to the rescue by scoring a sensational free kick with his wizardry upon the Jabulani. The goal is crazy to say the least. Just look at how this thing swirls and curls. The game wasn't done there, as Suarez famously used his hands to save a clear goal. And since that exact moment, bro was hated by an entire entire nation, as Ghana failed to convert their penalty and went on to lose 4-2 in the penalty shootout. Oh, this World Cup was so freaking good, man. They don't make tournaments like this anymore. With Uruguay in the semi-finals, they met with the Netherlands. And guess what? Diego Forlan scored again a long-range goal to equalize after being 1-0 down against the Netherlands. Still, despite Forlan's inhumane efforts, Uruguay was still eliminated as they lost 3-2 against the Dutch. But no one will forget Diego Forlan's screamers in the 2010 World Cup. He even became the first player since Lothar Matthäus to score 3 goals from outside of the box in one tournament. And this was all possible thanks to the Jabulani. However, this was not all for Uruguay in the 2010 World Cup. They still had to play for the 3rd spot in the World Cup, and against Germany, Diego Forlan again scored a screamer. This time a volley from, again, outside of the box. But this goal was a little more special than the rest, as it was selected as the goal of the tournament. Also, Forlan won the top scorer award at the World Cup with 5 goals. And that's how Diego Forlan went from zero to hero, just because he knew how to control the Jabulani. It was so special because other players were so confused by the ball, calling it horrible, while Forlan made the best out of the situation and absolutely destroyed keepers with the Jabulani. Still, the biggest question about this ball is why? Why was it so different in comparison to other balls? And why did it swirl like crazy? I mean, the Adidas engineers only wanted the best for the footballers, but they ended up with a disaster. Well, after the World Cup ended, NASA tested the performance of the Jabulani and its predecessor in 2006, and you won't believe what the studies concluded. They found out that the main reason why the Jabulani behaves so strangely in the air was speed. Where older footballs have a knuckling effect at speeds closer to 48 km per hour, NASA predicted that the Jabulani only begins to experience the effect at a higher speed of 72 to 80 km per hour. The higher speed required for the knuckle effect is also a more commonly struck speed, meaning that knuckleballs were more common during that World Cup. That's why most of the football YouTubers who hit insane knuckleball shots use the Jabulani. That's also why the Jabulani is the most iconic football in history. Still, going back to the consequences of using this ball in such a big tournament, Opta calculated that during the group stages and quarterfinals of the World Cup in 2010, there were more misplaced passes than in any of the previous 4 tournaments. And who knows, maybe if a different football was used in 2010, the World Cup could have been very different to how we know it today. However, because of the Jabulani, that World Cup was 10 times more special. The controversy, the long shots, the scandals, the vuvuzelas. All of them made the tournament more special. And so, the truth about the Jabulani is that it was the most controversial ball ever created, which generated a lot of problems and criticism, but it was also the most fun and entertaining piece of equipment ever designed in football history.